Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I am your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, and I am super excited to have you here with me today. As always, every Tuesday, I love circling up with all of you. And I got to tell you, get ready to be inspired today. Joining me today is Regina Louise. Regina Louise is the author of Permission Granted. Her best-selling memoirs, Somebody, Someone, and Someone Has Led This Child to Believe, were made into the award-winning Lifetime movie, I Am Somebody's Child, the Regina Louise Story, which was nominated for a 2020 NAACP Award for Best Director. After living in over 30 foster homes, group homes, and psychiatric facilities before the age of 18, Regina put herself through college on scholarship, wrote 2 best-selling memoirs that I just mentioned, and began touring the nation, telling her story and inspiring others to live life on their own terms. And that's what this show is about. A summa cum laude graduate of the California Institute of Integral Studies with a Master's of Fine Arts degree, Regina is a Hoffman process teacher, workshop facilitator, and motivational speaker. Her story has been featured everywhere in media outlets like NPR's All Things Considered, Good Morning America, CBS Early Show, and so many more. Welcome, Regina.
Hi, Linda Joy. Thank you.
I am so glad to have you. I love inspirational stories. And I want to dive right into the book Permission Granted. For one, I featured it in the Aspire Mag's Top 10 Inspiring Books list. I was just drawn to it. So tell us a little bit about it and what it gives readers permission to do.
What a great question. It gives readers, I'll just start there, permission to explore what that means. What does it mean to have one's own permission? What does it feel like to own not only our yes, but also our no? What does it mean to take our consent everywhere we go and have the courage as well as the capacity to show up in a space on our own terms in the way that we see fit? And one of the strategies that I write about, bring your own permission. And I liken it to the slogan, bring your own beer, whatever that is, bring your own, whatever you want to fill in that B for. But in this case, it's bring your own permission, bring your own power, bring your own pretty, bring your own privilege, bring your own whatever that is that you might need in any given situation to support you in being and bringing your best possible self. I wrote this book, Linda Joy, because I grew up without anyone's permission. And what I mean by that is most of the messages I heard as a young girl growing, budding into an adolescent and then a young woman and now a grownish woman is that no one cared one way or the other what happened to me, what would happen to me, what could happen to me. No one held possibilities for me, had expectations that I would ever climb out of the desperation of the conditions I was unwittingly born into. So I was that kid at the end of the day that when everyone else needed to go inside, as the street lights came on, there was no one expecting that of me. So I was always that child left out, making my way home and looking through plate glass windows into people's living rooms and dining rooms where they were engaging in those lives where they had to get permission to do everything. Whereas I recognized as I was writing this book or researching the book, I was my own permission from day one. And so this book is an exploration into that, what that meant, the rhythms and hues and tones of what it means to be a nobody's child in my case, and to permission myself into my own best and good enough self, good enough mother, and my own most powerful, empowered position around permission. And my intention was to have a blueprint, if you will, for those who also may be curious about what it might look like to have life on their own terms.
So beautiful, because so many of us were programmed, right, that our whole identity is outside of ourselves. So it's almost like we spend our lives waiting for permission to get the great job or the right spouse and all this, like we're always waiting. And it sounds like,
Right.
if I understand correctly, you went inside yourself and said, what is it as I desire, and what is the life I want to create despite my outside circumstances?
Absolutely. Everything. I mean, if we want to just explore the nature of what it means to be born into my gender as female, born into my ethnicity, African American, born into my social status class below the poverty line, born into, again, socioeconomics, unwanted orphan child below the poverty line, then there was the outside basically said, you have no permission. You don't get to be an American on the terms of being an American as defined by that someone who has the freedom to pursue the American dream. By all accounts and measures, I was born into situations that diminished any possibility of me succeeding on all outside accounts. With that said, I can remember being in solitary confinement and a place intended to erase any sense of self, any sense of safety, any sense of humanity. And I remember when the light drifted over the threshold at the bottom of the door, and I would plant my hopes and dreams and desires into that light. That was my happy place. So I learned by virtue of circumstances, even in the midst of profound darkness, I'm talking a room with no handles, no windows, no light at the bottom of that threshold, as I said. Not only did the light waft over, but I learned, I am the light. This is my happy place right here where I can plant my dreams and visions and hopes into the wind, into the light, and it will all come back to me. So I was set up to live my life from the inside out.
Yeah, and as I listen to you speak, I'm just drawn to your words. And one of the things I'm feeling is that, I don't know if you'd identify it this way for yourself, but what I'm receiving is you were born with a spiritual spark to something bigger than you. Because for someone to be able to recognize themselves as the light when they're in the midst of darkness, there is something inside you that recognizes the light.
See, I'm about to say we're at the Church of Linda Joy now. Come on.
Come on, girl. I'm going to tell you. Your words,
Come,
go ahead,
come
honey.
on, come through. Well, okay, let's call it what it is. I remember as a very young girl sitting in the pew of the Church of the Nazarene in Austin, Texas. And I'll never forget the Reverend, donned in his black robe, red designs on it, and his hands gesticulating through the air. And I just thought that alone was beautiful. And then he started reciting John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. And for me, that's all he had to say, because I was hooked. Right on the end of that whole beautiful experience. And I thought to myself, something in me lighted. My soul became lighted with joy. If I can feel my way back to that moment, hope, possibility, like I will live forever. And to me, that was the birth of my resilient nature. We can call it spirit, we can call it God, we can call it the universal principle. I'm for the sake of this, what I'm saying right now, I'm going to call it the spirit of resilience, because I think that particular passage is about resilience, right? I think, just to take a slight tangent, I think Easter, the whole idea of renewal, the whole idea of the resurrection is nothing if not a living, awake, alive, aware example of what resilience looks like. We may die to this dream or that dream. People may die in our lives that we love. So we die to particular connections and experiences, but we also come back from that stronger, seemingly unscathed, and more enhanced, right, in the long run, when we do the work and we welcome the healing. So yes, I believe that I had a gifted experience with the nature of my own spirit at a very young age.
I can't wait to dive in deeper into this. This is so beautiful. And I know it gives hope to so many who may be struggling right now. We're going to take a break. I'll be back in a moment. I am with Regina Louise, and you can learn more at IamReginaLouise.com. We'll be right back, my friends.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Inspiration for a Woman's Soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Hey America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTRFM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. With me today is Regina Louise. Her whole story was made into an award-winning Lifetime movie called I Am Somebody's Child, the Regina Louise Story, and it's truly inspirational. She's the author of Permission Granted, and we're talking a lot about that today. So, Regina, in the introduction of the book, you talk about the many opportunities to self-parent. For the listeners that aren't sure what that means, what do you mean by that?
Thank you. To self-parent is to lean in to one's own tenderness, one's own ability to be affectionate, to be firm, understanding, to have the courage to give oneself permission to sit through the discomfort of suffering, of the pains and the upheavals that we encounter as humans on an everyday basis. For me, I live in a culture where short-term gratification is encouraged. Social media are just examples of that. And the good enough mother knows how to put a boundary down, knows how to hold out for the gratification so that it's not about that immediacy of having to have it our way immediately, no matter what the consequences, oftentimes not considering the consequences, but oftentimes making that immediate, knee-jerk decision and then being completely overwhelmed and surprised with the consequences. So in reparenting, my perspective is that we slow it all down. We slow ourselves down. We give our central nervous systems the opportunity to support us in getting regulated emotionally, physically, psychically, spiritually. And in that slowing down, we create a stopgap, a place or a beat where we can decide, am I going to connect to my spirit and move forth in a way that causes no harm, that doesn't re-traumatize those of us who have been traumatized, and that immediate reaction is a PTSD experience, and the trauma is just there, ready to either be re-experienced, or are we going to give ourselves that opportunity to flip the script on the trauma response, and in so doing, have that opportunity, give ourselves the opportunity to create new neurological pathways so that the new experience in terms of the response supports us in the healing, supports us in healing, basically. So when I share about being the good enough mother, it is knowing that within us, especially if we have 20 years under our belt, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever season of our lives we are in, there is wisdom. There's definitely wisdom that we can glean and that we can use on our own terms in order to support our best self in any moment. Because we have the gift of discernment as humans. We have the gift of experience as humans. We are our own research, right? Subjects, heuristic research. We have that. Every research experience that is given, it's predicated upon the experiences that we humans have had, and then to collect, if you will, samples, experiences, responses from a host of people in a myriad of different ways in which we gain and garner that information. Well, we have that within us. Researchers and scientists, they rely upon our experiences in order to help them understand this whole idea about, for instance, neuroplasticity. So within us, just as people, just as humans, we have our experiences that can empower us to make discerning choices and decisions that can, on the other side of whatever we're going through, can help create a better outcome, an outcome that is more so desired as opposed to going into something so blind and so naive that we're always surprised, right, of the outcome on the other side.
I can relate to that because in my teens, I was a wild child. And I'd always go, and why did this happen? It's like, whoa. Looking back, I go, well, you did A, B, C, and D. That's the consequences. But I didn't know how to self-parent at that time. And there's something when you were first started describing self-parenting, my immediate, gut reaction was, it's almost like turning the love that we give to so many others to ourselves in creating space to be and to honor ourselves. And it has to start there.
Right. And you're speaking to someone who had no parents, right? No parents to speak of. So my only point of entry into this conversation is to track back my life experience to that 10-year-old girl who decided, I'm never, ever, ever going to allow my abusers to beat me again. I need to leave this situation, and I'm going to put my trust in this entity people call God. And if this God that people talk about, that I go to church every Sunday and we ruminate about, and we have these scriptures, and then we have this book called the Bible, then guess what? If God is everywhere I am, then I'm going to be good. God's going to have my back. And with that said and done, let's get to the business of not having people beat my flesh and skin off my body. And if I can get myself to higher ground, then I know that I've made a good decision. And that good decision I can make other good decisions and other good decisions. I mean, at the end of the day, is that not what sound character is made of? Is the idea of making ethical, decisions that proliferate the education, if you will, of spirit, of heart, of soul. Now, did I have the lexicon for that as a child? Of course not. But what I did have is this thing that we talk about all the time. In the work I do, I hear people use the word authentic, authentic, authentic. And then I'm always suspect. Do we really understand what that means? So if I track what I just posited back to who and what I was as a child, I was authentic. And one of the reasons I understand it now is my understanding of authentic is to be willing to have the capacity and the trust and the courage to listen to the voice within.
Yeah.
Now that to me is authenticity. That's that place where authenticity meets bone, where spirit meets bone. Right? Where the consent and the permission of who I am as a social agent, as a spiritual being, it's originated at that place where spirit meets bone, at the frontier of where spirit meets bone. That's where I live. That's where I've always lived from. I've just, in the last 10 years, and with the writing of this book, discovered, right, the location and the origin of that internal location. So I've been connected to that place of authenticity for as long as I know. I remember one time at my alma mater, I went back to speak, and somebody came up to me afterwards, and I'd written a song that was a overture, if you will, to slavery and the tragedy of it. And one of the people came up to me afterwards and said, "You can't help but tell the truth," right? And what I recognized is she recognized truth for her in what I said, right? And
Mm.
so that to me is another way of saying that is you can't help but be authentic and listen to the essence of what's inside of you.
Such powerful, powerful insights, and your journey just touches my soul, inspires me. I'm so excited to have you here today because your story, your presence in this world gives other women hope. We're going to take a break, Regina. When we come back, I want to talk about love formations because I love,
Ooh.
yeah, I'm like, oh, baby, come on. So we'll be back. We'll be back in a moment. I'm with Regina Louise. Please check her out at IamReginaLouise.com. She's the author of Permission Granted, as well as 2 other best-selling memoirs. So be sure to visit her website. We'll be right back.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Are you designing your life or living by default? Discover your soul's unique human design and be empowered to live the life you were meant for. Nancy O'Keefe, certified human design specialist, intuitive transformational coach, and compassionate transformer, helps women like you peel back the layers of who they've been taught to be to reveal who they truly are so they can create the life of their dreams. Nancy knows firsthand that anything is possible. She divinely designed her life and went from receptionist to company VP and on to founder and CEO of her own multi-7-figure firm. Nancy has been developing and coaching people for over 25 years and is passionate about helping them understand their divine design, embrace who they are, and live their best life. Schedule your complimentary call today at nancyokeefecoaching.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Hailing Light, on OMTimes Radio, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Hailing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Me, a cat, moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm with Regina Louise, and what an inspiration, my friend. And I want to talk about love formations, because as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh yeah, you're talking my language, girl. So, where were they born from? And then give us a couple examples of how they're used in your own life.
Love formations came out of this idea that I'm a devout or devotee, if you will, follower of luminaries like Michael Bernard Beckwith, Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer, Marianne Williamson, heavy hitters in the metaphysical realm. And so people talk all the time about affirmation. And I came to this point where I'm like, when when I hear the word affirmation, I kind of glaze over. It's like, oh, okay, that is from someone else's experience, right? And so I want to actually encourage people to come at this affirmation, this idea of an affirmation from their own experience. And for me, I also, while I was writing this book and researching, I came upon the realization, the startling realization that pretty much created a time of existential angst, that I had no idea what love was. I had no working idea of love. I had a Hallmark version, I had a Hollywood, happy ended mediated version, but I didn't have a felt sense, right? Idea, truth around what love was. And although I teach love as a Hoffman teacher, I still couldn't locate within me, because I'm all about locating the embodiment of a truth. And I couldn't locate that within me. And so I became curious. And as, again, a Hoffman teacher, one of the definitions of love that we give and that I am expected to deliver in my presentation is: love is the flowing, the rendering, the outpouring from the heart and truth of emotional goodness to ourselves first and then to others. I had said that again and again and again, 6 years running, and, a number of processes, and yet at the same time, it didn't resonate with me. It was more like, okay, I am reiterating the Hoffman technology, but something about this isn't necessarily resonating with me. And for me, I need to feel the truth of it. I need to have a felt sense of it in order for me to stand behind it. So the moment came when I had to test this definition of love that I was reiterating again and again and again. And I didn't get it. It didn't, my spirit wasn't moved. The way my spirit litmus test is if I can get goosebumps from the truth of what you say, because for me, having goosebumps means spirit is recognizing itself, because it's involuntary, right? So for me, I needed to have that spirit is recognizing itself moment, and I just wasn't having it. And then I slowed it down and I listened to that definition, and I reiterated it. I wrote it down. I spoke it into a recorder and listened, and then boom, I recognized something. And I allow whatever that was to enter me, to just drop into the spaces within my being, and then to metabolize it. And I had my own experience with love, where I recognized love, if love, according to this definition, is the rendering, the outpouring, the flowing from the heart and soul of emotional goodness, first to ourselves, and means it comes from within me. Those words, outpouring, flowing, rendering, first to me, I therefore am the space where love originates. So emotional goodness, that's kindness, that's tenderness, that's affection, that's compassion, empathy, all of it, all of those divine qualities. So in that place where spirit meets bone within me also lies the heart of emotional goodness. So I am the site from which love has the potential to originate. It's a choice. So love formation for me is we are the site from which love originates, each of us, at every moment, in any time, despite the patterns that dictate our lives, despite the experiences, the traumas, the upheavals we have had. Also, love is there. And it is that place where spirit meets bone, where it is the place of resilience. It is the place where the scathe becomes cleansed and renewed and unscathed. Therefore, this is the place where love formation firms and is affirmed in the firmament of me, where spirit meets bone. So if that is the case, and I'm the arbiter of that truth, and if that is the case, and I am she who has the power, right? To believe. So I believe. And what is believe but to live in that way in which I choose to be? Therefore, believing is living, and living in the way and truth that I am. So love formation empowers me, permissions me to say, regardless of race consciousness, regardless of status quo, I am who I say I am. So in this moment, so my fiance cheats on me. Did my fiance really cheat on me? Is that bringing that negative energy into my I am? No, my fiance cheated on himself.
Yes.
He cheated himself out of intimacy, out of love with himself first, and I'm a benevolent witness. And I can graciously, as Pema Chodron says, not kick him out of my heart, but I can kick him out of my house. Love formation allows me to understand the breadth, width, depth, and length of my own sovereign word.
This is just, my heart is like rippling. And there's something you said, Regina, you said, soul bumps. I get soul giggles. So I'm in that same feeling. I always, like, it's my hashtag on social media. It's like, oh, it gives me soul giggles. It's that knowing, right? Like you get them in soul bumps. Is this knowing like, oh yeah, I am not doing this. And
That's called the amen corner too. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the girl with the hand on the hip, like,
Okay, standing akimbo, going, And you know what? Let's just push this to its limit. So with a love formation, the way that I practice it. So when I sent out my VIP swag boxes to my influencers on Instagram and just people who, we had this resonance. And so I wanted them to have a full experience of what it meant to establish a baseline in the heat of a potential traumatizing experience, as well as how to have a love formations experience. So the way that I practice love formations, I have a beautiful etched handheld mirror. And on the mirror, I have my love formations inscribed on the mirror, and I do the mirror work. So, because for me, doing the mirror work is synonymous with being in attunement with my good enough mother, recreating my attachment style. So, of course, I had insecure, ambivalent attachment style, whereas now my attachment style is secure. And it is secure because I've learned to not rely upon outside sources to confirm my sense of lovability. Instead, I use the love formations, and I've done it most of my life without understanding that I've done it. I've looked in mirrors and spoken to the image inside of me and the image inside of the realness inside of the image, meaning my inner child, to the image in the mirror. And love formations, I have them printed on a handheld mirror, and then it's a real beautiful experience. So my love formation says, "Dear younger self. And then I say, repeat after me. I am lovable. And then I'll say, my inner child, I am lovable. I am enough. I am enough. I am my own. I am. I am my own. I am. I am my best solution at all times. And the fascinating aspect of it, and this was something that I learned as a hairdresser, is the third dimensional realm in which I experience in this particular space and time, and that is this 3D experience. So looking in the mirror, I'm reading first what's etched on the handheld mirror. Those are my mantras that I will have my younger self repeat after me, the adult self, right? And then once I'm done with that practice, I look past what's etched on the mirror and into the image in the mirror. And who I always find there is the good enough mother.
That is beautiful. What a
So
powerful, just like I was trying to be you as you were holding the mirror, and I'm like, I love mirror work, but the combination of you having it etched there into the physical, then the repeating, like that's transformational.
right. And it's connecting with the good enough mother in me. So as I'm repeating what's etched on the mirror, it's the good enough mother has already written that. She knows me well enough. She knows my inner child, obviously. I know my inner child well enough to know what she needs and what's happening for her. And so I know that my core shame message, my core shame is, as a result of being born in the skin I'm in, being born in the gender I'm in, being born in everything we talked about at the top of the hour, I know that my shame is I'm dirty. I'm not good enough. So to flip the script on I'm not good enough is I'm lovable. And so I have other love formations that have a way of healing and transmuting those negative messages. And so when I look past, after I say what I say, and my inner child says that, and then when it's all said and done, and I look and I say, and so it is, and I look past what I have repeated to myself in a mantra-like way, there's my good enough mother, my highest good, my highest self. She's right there beyond the words. And the words become sort of a blur, and then my good enough self is right there to meet me.
First off, I want to thank you for sharing this sacred process with us. I can feel it in my body, my soul, and there's just so much wisdom just in this last segment. We're going to take a break, and we're going to be back for our last segment with Regina Louise, author of Permission Granted and 2 amazing, powerful, life-transforming memoirs. So you can learn more at IamReginaLouise.com. When we come back, Regina, I want to talk about any advice you have to offer to individuals who are having a hard time letting go of a behavior they know no longer serves them. So hold on, everyone. We'll be right back for the last segment.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Are you being called to step into your truth and embrace your divinity? Are you ready to align your heart and soul, live an authentic life, and become a divine magnet for love and abundance? It's time to listen to your inner wisdom and clear the blocks holding you back from your best life. Leading intuitive prosperity coach, Akashic Records practitioner, and evidential medium Jamie Hearn of LiveYourDivinity.com empowers and supports spiritual women like you to align your inner and outer worlds, embrace your soul's truth, and live your divinity. Through her intuitive gifts, grounded wisdom, and empowered coaching, Jamie guides women back into sacred alignment with their truth. Visit LiveYourDivinity.com to learn more about Jamie's empowering programs and to schedule an Akashic record reading.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
This is OTR FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
You're listening to Inspired Conversations, and I'm with the one and only Regina Louise. So, Regina, what guidance do you have to offer someone, a woman that's struggling right now and who's having a hard time letting go of a behavior that no longer serves her?
I would encourage her first to sit in the true knowing and acceptance that the behavior no longer is in service. And then I would ask her to go through a practice of thanking that behavior for how it got her from where she was to where she is. So to thank the behavior and to recognize the wisdom of that behavior, albeit a pattern or just a way of being, a mood, a way of feeling in the world. And then ask that behavior or that pattern, what is it that it wants her to know? What is the wisdom that it wants her to know about it, right? So to go into that internal family systems type of relationship with that experience, because it's been with her, I would imagine, for as long as she's been with her. And then I would do inner body work to begin the healing process towards the embodiment of a different feeling.
Now, what is
and I want to say there's a noise that might go by. So just give me just a second and let that big truck go by so that I can get back to answering your question. And then, go ahead. What were you
I was just going to ask, so what inner body work is? What do you mean by that inner body work?
Right. Getting quiet, getting still. So one of the things that I am learning to do in the face of dealing with traumatic experiences is one of the things that I will do. And sometimes those behaviors that we no longer need, right? They helped us survive. They helped us get through a life, a challenge. And yet now they are no longer in service to us. And so we can grow that particular experience up depending upon what it was or what it is. So one of the ways I use, a practice that I use to go in and embody my own courage and my own ability to heal in the moment is I slow down. Bare feet on the ground, no matter where I am. If I sense, my central nervous system will know, my brain will say, okay, time to argue. I know, hey, all you're really doing is solving to keep me safe. But because I have most of us who have trauma have hyperactive brains for this, to keep us safe, it's like, okay, slow down. Take off my shoes no matter where I am. Take off my shoes and allow my feet to hit terra firma immediately. Then I sit down and I come into recognition of my sit bone, my coccyx bone, the bone that connects me to Gaia, Mother Earth. And you can call it whatever you want to call it, terra firma, earth, Gaia, but I connect to Mother Earth. And then I open my legs so that I create a tripod. So feet on the ground, connect to the coccyx, Mother Earth, to Gaia, sit bone, and then my knees spread apart to create a tripod. I am the strength of my own strength. I am the strength of my own firmament. I am the firmament, right? I am affirmed in this moment. And then I check into whatever it is I'm experiencing. So if it's a behavior, usually these behaviors have emotional components to it. So I check my mood, I check my feelings, I check what's happening for me. But instead of dropping into the sadness, okay, my fiance cheated on me, remember that? So I'm going to do the work right now. Feet on terra firma, my coccyx bone to Mother Earth. And now I am going to figure eight over the emotional response. Where is the emotional response in my body? It's right in my heart center. So I'm not going to, like a peregrine falcon nosedive, at warp speed into that feeling and over-identify with it. Instead, what I'm going to do is a figure eight. I'm going to, for those of you who have a bit of life on you and you remember that song, 2 and 2 are 4, 4 and 4 are 8, 8 and 8 are 16, 16 and 16 are 32. That's the figure eight. So I figure eight over that heart space. And I just notice, I'm feeling left behind. I'm feeling like my partner, his infidelity is a personal affront to who and what I am. No. And then I just figure eight. Yes, I see that. I see that desire to want to over-identify with the heartbreak, the loneliness, the whatever emotions are coming up. And so instead of that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to figure eight. And I'm not going to go into the trance of unconsciousness. I'm going to stay above ground. I'm not going to go to the dark side on this one. I'm going to stay above ground. I'm going to stay in the light. And I'm a 2 and 2 are 4, 4 and 4 are 8, 8 and 8 are 16, this one. So I don't over-identify with the feeling, the mood, the toxicity, but instead I stay connected to the strength of knowing another possibility within. And that other possibility is compassion. I can go to compassion, that desire to want to ameliorate, to alleviate my own suffering as well as the suffering of others.
What a beautiful, powerful experience to leave our listeners with, because you just gave them a tool to know that they have another way of experiencing a life experience.
Wait a minute, sister. I want to add to that. I love what you just said, that they have another way. Let's go bold. Let's go radical, Linda Joy, and let's bump this, having this up to another level. Not only do they have it.
We have 2 more minutes. So
not only do they have it, but it's even bigger, grander, bolder than that. They are it. They are the experience of hope and love they are looking for. They are it.
You hear that, ladies? Each and every one of you.
You are it.
Are it.
And I want to say this because I am going to launch in December a experience to help get us through the winter months. And I'm going to lead a Writing for Your Life experience. And I want to invite everybody on this podcast who would like to be a part of it to go to my website, www.IamReginaLouise.com. Subscribe. I will give you 15% off the experience. And I promise you this, it is going to be 3 days of introducing each participant to what I just said, to the reality that you are the truth you're looking for. You are the love. You are the healing that you are looking for. And in writing for your life, I'm going to help you take some traumatic experiences or upheavals that you've experienced and turn them into your power source, your superpower, to flip the script on that story.
What a sacred, sacred invitation. And I want to invite everyone, please. This is a powerful experience, a healing journey. Visit www.IamReginaLouise.com. Make sure you register and sign up so that when she opens the doors, you are the first one to get notified.
That's right. And go to Instagram. Instagram, too, is The Real Regina Louise, okay? The Real Regina Louise. And I love new Instagram followers, and I try to drop interesting posts. I do my best with that. I'm still learning, but yeah, come join me. Let's have a good time, because that's what I'm about, is healing while having an amazing time as a human on this planet.
Well, I have to tell you, I have had an amazing time in our time together, and I am so grateful that our paths have crossed. I'm thrilled to share you here on the show and Aspire Magazine. I'm happy to share your book. So thank you for joining me today, my friend.
You are so welcome, my new friend, and I look forward to doing some collaborations together, Linda Joy. You are a straight up kick-ass sister. So let's go.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Till next time, everyone, choose love, choose joy, choose blessings, my friends.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.